Back in February of 2025, Dr. Andrew Huberman dropped a bomb in an episode about testosterone and estrogen, something that Carl Jung had already mapped out a century prior. He said, testosterone isn't just a male hormone. It reduces anxiety. It promotes competitive behavior, and it spikes when you simply compete, whether you win or lose. And when you win, dopamine fires first, and that dopamine then further boosts testosterone. Now, hold that thought, because back in 1921, Jung discovered, without any of today's neuroimaging technology, without advanced labs, that confident women carry something he termed an integrated animus, their inner masculine aspect. And this inner masculine aspect, when healthy, manifests exactly as Huberman described: assertiveness, healthy competition, and a fearlessness about asserting oneself. But there's a detail that no one connects. A detail that changes everything. Confident women don't just have an integrated animus. They have something Jung called a realized self. The self, in Jungian terms, isn't the ego. It's the organizing center of the entire psyche. And Huberman, without ever directly citing Jung, validated this in July of 2024 when he interviewed Dr. Stacy Sims. She said, every woman needs to understand her intrinsic self, her deepest self. Not what society expects, not what a partner wants, but what she, at her core, truly is. And here's the neurological explosion. When a woman accesses this intrinsic self, her self-defining network, her DMN, the brain network responsible for self-definition and internal narrative, it reorganizes. Studies from 2025 show that loving-kindness meditation, self-compassion directed inward, literally restructures the DMN, and the result, fewer negative emotions about herself, more self-esteem, more confidence. This isn't just some new age theory. It's measurable neuroplasticity. But wait. Because what I'm about to reveal goes against everything you've been taught about femininity. Jung discovered that most women don't live from the self. They live from the social mask, the persona, the version of themselves that's been shaped by external expectations. And the persona, neurologically speaking, is the social prefrontal cortex in performance mode. You're not being, you're performing. And Huberman confirmed this unknowingly. In episodes about social anxiety, he explained that when you're in social performance mode, your prefrontal cortex is constantly monitoring external reactions. It's checking, am I being accepted? Am I pleasing people? Am I doing it right? This is exhausting. It drains energy, and it neurologically suppresses testosterone because your nervous system interprets constant performance as a threat. And here's the secret that confident women know. They stop performing. They begin being. And when that happens, the biology changes, the neurology changes, their presence changes. Now, let me show you how Jung mapped this out back in 1921, and Huberman validated it in 2024 without even realizing it. Jung described 4 stages of female psychological development, and the last stage, the rarest, he called the wise woman. The woman who has integrated her animus, transcended her persona, and lives from herself. Characteristics of the wise woman, according to Jung: she doesn't seek approval. She doesn't compete with other women. She doesn't diminish herself to please men. She doesn't perform vulnerability to manipulate. She simply is. And her presence is magnetic because it's authentic. And Huberman, in February of 2025, explained the neurological mechanism of this without realizing he was validating Jung. He said, confidence isn't about never feeling fear. It's about trusting that you can handle whatever comes your way. And that confidence is built gradually, Through consistency, you show up repeatedly, and your brain learns, I can do this. That's self-directed neuroplasticity, and Jung called it the process of individuation. Same thing, 100 years apart. But there's a trap that destroys 90% of women who try to develop confidence. They try to develop confidence by imitating men. They suppress emotions, they harden, they compete aggressively. And Jung warned, this isn't animus integration, this is animus possession. When you're possessed by the animus, you become rigid, defensive, controlling. You lose the receptivity, the intuition, the fluidity that are genuinely feminine strengths. And Huberman validated this neurologically in studies about cortisol. When women suppress emotions chronically, cortisol spikes. And chronic cortisol suppresses estrogen, suppresses oxytocin, suppresses all the hormones that regulate emotional well-being and connection. You don't become confident. You become burned out. So, what's the secret? How do you integrate the animus without being possessed by it? Jung taught a technique that Huberman validated without knowing in 2024. It's called active imagination. Jung's protocol was simple. Sit in silence. Allow images, thoughts, sensations to arise spontaneously. Don't force it. Don't control it. Just observe and dialogue internally with what arises. And in 2024, studies on the self-defining network confirmed when you enter a state of conscious rest, without an agenda, without trying to control thoughts, the DMN activates. And the DMN is where self-definition, integration of memories, and deep emotional processing happen. Jung's active imagination is literally directed activation of the self-defining network. And the result? Integration. You don't suppress the animus. You're not possessed by it. You integrate it. It becomes part of who you are. Assertiveness without aggression. Boundaries without rigidity. Confidence without arrogance. That's what confident women do without knowing. And that's why they never beg, because they know their worth. Not intellectually, somatically, neurologically. Now, about testosterone. Because Huberman revealed something in February of 2025 that changes everything. He said, competing increases testosterone, but not destructive competition, healthy competition. Simply entering a situation where you challenge yourself already triggers testosterone, and when you win, dopamine increases first, and that dopamine then further increases testosterone. This creates a cycle. You challenge yourself, testosterone increases, you win, dopamine fires, testosterone increases more. You feel more confident, repeat. But women have been socialized to avoid competition, to not stand out, to not outshine anyone. And that socialization, neurologically, suppresses testosterone. And low testosterone in women isn't just about libido. It's about motivation. It's about courage. It's about the ability to assert oneself. Jung discovered this without a lab. He noticed that women who never developed their animus lived in states of chronic passivity, waiting, accommodating, never claiming. And Huberman validated testosterone is about action, about seeking novelty, about competing. So, about not accepting less than you deserve. Here's the hybrid protocol, bridging Carl Jung and Andrew Huberman, the protocol that confident women intuitively follow. Step 1. Identify where you're performing your social mask instead of living from your realized self. Where are you acting instead of being? To do this neurologically, notice when your body tenses up in social interactions, when you're constantly monitoring external reactions. That's your social prefrontal cortex in performance mode. It's draining your energy. Step 2, Practice Jungian active imagination with neuroscientific support. 15 minutes a day, no agenda, just sit, close your eyes, allow thoughts to arise. Don't force anything, just observe and dialogue internally. Huberman calls this non-sleep deep rest. Jung called it active imagination. Same thing. Both activate the self-defining network. Both reorganize your neural self-definition. Step 3. Engage in healthy competition. Not against other women, but against yourself. Challenge yourself. Set a goal that scares you a little and pursue it. This boosts testosterone, and testosterone reduces anxiety, increases courage, and promotes assertiveness. You start asserting yourself naturally, effortlessly, because your biology has changed. Step 4. Stop seeking external validation. And this isn't about arrogance. It's about trusting your intrinsic realized self, neurologically. When you stop constantly checking for external reactions, your prefrontal cortex relaxes. Energy that was being spent on performing is now available for presence. You become magnetic because you're not trying. You simply are. Step 5. Integrate. Don't suppress. If emotions arise, feel them. Don't harden. Don't become rigid. But also, don't drown. Feel, process, and act from the realized self, not from the emotion. This is inner masculine integration. You feel as a woman. You act with the clarity of the inner masculine principle, receptivity with direction, intuition with action. And when you do this, something extraordinary happens. You stop attracting people who devalue you, because your energy communicates, "I know my worth," and people who don't recognize that simply can't connect with you, not because you reject them, but because different frequencies don't resonate. Jung called this relational synchronicity. Huberman calls it neurological compatibility. Same thing. When your self-defining network is organized around self-worth, you attract people whose self-defining network is also organized around mutual value. You repel those who need to diminish you to feel big. And here's the deepest truth, the truth that Jung taught and Huberman validated without realizing it. Confidence isn't something you build, it's something you discover, because the realized self, the intrinsic realized self, has always been there. You were just covered by layers of the social mask, by external expectations, by fear of not being accepted. And when you remove those layers, when you stop performing and start being, what remains is unshakable confidence, because it's not based on external achievements. It's not based on validation. It's based on who you are at your deepest core. And neurologically, this manifests as a reorganized, self-defining network. Balanced testosterone, regulated cortisol, flowing oxytocin. Your whole body recognizes, "I am safe being myself." That's what confident women know. They didn't learn it in books. They discovered it through individuation. And Jung mapped the path. Huberman validated the neurology. And you can replicate it. But there's one last thing I need to reveal. One thing that changes everything. Confident women aren't selfish. They're selective. And there's a huge neurological difference between the two. Selfishness is an inflated social mask. It's the ego defending its territory. It's fear disguised as arrogance. And neurologically, selfishness activates the amygdala. You're in constant threat mode, defending, protecting, controlling. Selectivity is a realized self. It's knowing your worth and choosing who has access to you. And neurologically, selectivity activates the ventromedial prefrontal cortex. You're making decisions based on deep values, not on fear. Jung taught, the more you individuate, the more you become yourself, the more selective you become, because you don't need everyone. You don't need to please everyone. You need people who resonate with who you really are. And Huberman validated this in studies on oxytocin. Oxytocin isn't the hormone of universal love. It's the hormone of selective bonding. You bond deeply with a few. You protect yourself from many. And that's healthy. Women who try to please everyone have dysregulated oxytocin. They bond indiscriminately, and that's exhausting because you can't maintain deep connection with everyone. Neurologically impossible. So here's the final secret. Confident women know they don't need to be for everyone. They only need to be for themselves, and for the few who truly see them. And that leads to a transformation that Jung described as the central mystery of feminine individuation. When you stop seeking external validation, when you stop competing for attention, when you stop diminishing yourself to fit into expectations, something happens. You become a magnetic field, not through effort, but through authenticity. And Huberman explained the mechanism of this without realizing he was validating Jung. In studies on presence and charisma, he showed magnetic people aren't trying to impress. They're present. And presence activates mirror neurons in those around them. When you're authentically present, when you're not performing, other people's brains recognize it and respond because authenticity is rare. And rarity attracts. Jung called this the numinosity of the realized self. Huberman calls it mirror neuron activation. Same thing. But here's what most don't understand, and this is critical. Authenticity doesn't mean unfiltered. It doesn't mean saying everything you think without considering the impact. That's not realized self. That's ego without containment. Jung taught that the realized self integrates all opposites: authenticity and consideration, assertiveness and receptivity, strength and tenderness. You don't choose one or the other. You integrate both. And neurologically, this integration manifests as communication between the left hemisphere and the right hemisphere. Logic and intuition working together, not in conflict. Women possessed by the inner masculine operate only from the left hemisphere. Logic, analysis, control, and lose access to the intuition, the empathy, the fluidity that comes from the right hemisphere. Women trapped in the traditional feminine social mask operate only from the right hemisphere. Emotion, intuition, connection, and lose access to the clarity, the assertiveness. The direction that comes from the left hemisphere. Integration is both its wholeness, and Huberman validated this in studies on decision-making. The best decisions come when logic and intuition combine, when rational analysis also considers what we often call a gut feeling, which is really just the unconscious processing of patterns. Jung called this gut feeling intuition. Huberman calls it unconscious processing. Same thing. So, the full protocol for developing authentic confidence involves 6 neuropsychological steps. And let me show you how each step transforms your neurology. Step 1. Identify your social mask. Where are you performing instead of just being? Journal daily. Ask yourself, in that situation, was I being myself, or was I performing, representing what others expected of me? Jung had a patient back in the 1930s, a female executive. She was performing a kind of masculine competence at work, suppressing her emotions, controlling everything, and she was exhausted. Jung asked her to map where she felt tension in her body during work interactions. And she realized, jaw clenched, shoulders tense, shallow breathing. These were all signs of her social mask being activated. And Huberman explained in 2024, when you're in chronic performance mode, your sympathetic nervous system becomes hyperactive. Cortisol levels go up, testosterone drops, paradoxically, because performance is often read by the body as a threat. Jung's patient started active imagination and discovered that her social mask, her tough executive persona, was actually a protection against vulnerability. Once she integrated her inner masculine without suppressing her femininity, she became a more effective leader because she stopped trying to control and started to inspire. Step 2, daily active imagination. 15 minutes. Silence. Let thoughts arise. Engage in internal dialogue. This activates the self-defining network and reorganizes your self-definition. And here's the detail that nobody teaches. Active imagination is not passive meditation. It's an active dialogue with unconscious content. Jung instructed, when an image arises, ask it, who are you? What do you want? And then wait for an answer. Don't invent it. Wait. The answer comes from the unconscious, and when it comes, you're accessing layers of self-definition that were previously suppressed. Huberman described something similar in studies about the self-defining network. When you enter a state of active rest, not sleeping, but not focused externally, the self-defining network begins to process memories, integrate experiences, and reorganize your identity. Jung's active imagination is like NSDR, non-sleep deep rest, with a psychological intention, and the results are measurable. Studies from 2025 show that contemplative practices that involve internal dialogue change connectivity within the self-defining network in just 90 days. Specifically, they increase integration between the nodes of the self-defining network responsible for autobiographical memory and for core values. You literally reconnect who you were with who you want to be. Step 3. Healthy competition. Set one goal per week that challenges you. It can be small, it can be big. What matters is getting in the game. Testosterone increases. Courage increases. And let me be clear, competition for women doesn't have to be against other people. It can be against yourself. It can be against self-sabotaging patterns. Huberman revealed in February of 2025, what matters for testosterone is not winning every time. It's putting yourself in challenging situations. Simply entering the game already triggers testosterone release, and testosterone prepares your body and mind for action. One of Jung's patients was an artist who never showed her work. She was afraid of judgment. Jung challenged her, exhibit one piece, just one. She did it, and even with the fear, something changed. She proved to herself that she could act despite the fear. Neurologically, she reinforced her courage circuitry. The amygdala still signaled fear, but her prefrontal cortex commanded action. And when you act despite fear, you train your brain. Fear doesn't paralyze me. That's directed neuroplasticity, and Jung called it strengthening the ego to serve the realized self. Step 4, stop seeking external validation. When you realize you're checking for reactions, take a deep breath, return to your body, return to yourself. This deactivates performance mode and frees up energy for presence. And here's a specific exercise that combines Jung and Huberman. When you realize you're monitoring external reactions, Jung instructed, place your hand on your heart, breathe deeply 3 times, and ask your realized self, what do I really feel here? Not what I should feel, but what do I really feel? Huberman validated this neurologically. Placing your hand on your heart activates the vagus nerve. Deep breathing changes your heart rate. And this signals to your brain, we are safe. The social prefrontal cortex can relax from surveillance mode. When you do this repeatedly, you train your nervous system. I can trust myself. I don't need to constantly check for external approval. And in 90 days, this practice changes your pattern of neural activation. You literally spend less energy on social performance and more on authentic presence. Step 5. Integrate emotion and action. Feel what you're feeling. But don't let emotion hijack your decision-making. Feel it, process it, then act from your realized self, not from the emotion. Jung had a saying, "Emotion without action is suffering. Action without emotion is tyranny." Integration is feeling fully and acting clearly, and Huberman explained the neurological mechanism behind this. When an emotion arises, the amygdala activates, and the amygdala can hijack the prefrontal cortex, leading you to act impulsively. Or you suppress it and become rigid. Integration is, the amygdala feels, the prefrontal cortex recognizes the feeling. You name the emotion, anger, fear, sadness. Naming partially deactivates the amygdala and frees up the prefrontal cortex to decide on a response. You feel anger. You recognize, "I am feeling angry." You breathe. You ask, "Is this anger valid information?" Yes. Then you act, but not from the anger. From the realized self that recognized that a boundary was violated, that's integrated inner masculine. Feminine emotion meets masculine clarity, and the result is action that's neither passive nor aggressive, it's assertive. Step 6. Conscious selectivity. Choose who has access to you, not out of arrogance, but out of respect for your realized self. You can't connect deeply with everyone. Choose a few. Connect truly. And Jung taught something radical for his time. The more you individuate, the smaller your social circle becomes, because you stop maintaining superficial connections out of obligation. But the connections that remain are profound. They're based on real resonance, not on performance or expectation. Huberman validated this in studies about oxytocin. Oxytocin promotes selective bonding. You bond deeply with a few, and that's neurologically healthy. Because deep connection demands resources. You can't do it with everyone. Women who try to keep everyone happy often have dysregulated oxytocin and elevated cortisol. They're chronically exhausted because they're trying to do something neurologically impossible. Universal deep connection. Selectivity isn't coldness. It's wisdom. It's recognizing that your time, your energy, your vulnerability are precious resources, and you choose with whom to share them. And when you practice this for 90 days, something happens. Your self-defining network, that DMN, it reorganizes. Your neural identity shifts. You stop seeing yourself as someone who needs to prove their worth. You start seeing yourself as someone whose worth is intrinsic, and when that neural shift happens, everything changes. The way you walk into a room, the way you speak, the way you set boundaries, the way you attract people. Carl Jung called this the emergence of the realized self. Andrew Huberman calls it self-directed neuroplasticity. Same thing, and the most extraordinary part, you don't become someone else. You become more yourself, because the realized self has always been there. You were just hidden by layers of your social mask. You've just uncovered the connection that academia is hiding. Jung mapped the deep psychology of female confidence a century ago. Huberman validated the neuroscience of it in 2024 and 2025 without even realizing he was confirming Jung's work. And now you have the complete hybrid protocol. This required research into Jung's manuscripts, analysis of Huberman Lab podcast episodes, and synthesizing studies on the self-defining network, testosterone, oxytocin, and neuroplasticity that most people ignore. The super thanks down below isn't just financial support. It's you saying, keep revealing what they're hiding. Every contribution funds the next Jung-Huberman connection, the next revelation that unites deep psychology with modern neuroscience. You're not a passive observer, you're a truth seeker. Be a part of those who refuse to separate ancient wisdom from modern science. Be a part of those who choose integration. And now, let's talk about what happens when you truly integrate your inner masculine and live from your realized self. You stop tolerating disrespect, not because you become aggressive, but because your nervous system simply won't allow it anymore. When someone devalues you, your body responds immediately, and you take action, not out of revenge, but out of self-protection. Jung said that women with an integrated inner masculine possess what he called a psychological sword, the ability to cut away what no longer serves them. And that sword isn't cruelty, it's discernment. And Huberman has validated this neurologically. He's shown that people with healthy boundaries have a balanced activation between the amygdala and the prefrontal cortex. The amygdala detects threat. The prefrontal cortex decides the response. No suppression, no explosion, just clear action. And here's something that few people understand. Confident women don't avoid conflict. They choose their battles. There's a huge difference. Avoiding conflict is fear disguised as peace. It's the social mask trying to keep everyone happy, and that's exhausting. Choosing battles is the realized self making strategic decisions. Some things are worth fighting for, others aren't. And knowing the difference is wisdom. Jung taught that part of individuation is learning to destroy what needs to be destroyed. Toxic relationships, self-sabotaging patterns, limiting beliefs. And that destruction isn't violence, it's creating space for the new. Huberman calls this neural pruning. You cut away connections that no longer serve you, and that strengthens the connections that matter. So the last secret that confident women know is this. Confidence isn't about never doubting. It's about acting even when you doubt. Because doubt is human, fear is human, insecurity is human. But action, despite that, is divine. Jung wrote at the end of his life, the goal of individuation isn't perfection, it's wholeness. And wholeness includes imperfection, includes doubt, includes fear. But you act anyway because your realized self is bigger than your fear. And Huberman validated this in 2025 when he said, courage isn't the absence of fear, it's action in the presence of fear. And every time you act despite your fear, you reinforce the neural circuits of courage. You teach your brain, I can do hard things. That's neuroplasticity. That's individuation. Same thing. Now tell me, are you living from your realized self or from your social mask? Are you being or are you performing? Team imperfect authenticity versus team perfect persona. Which one describes you right now? Comment brutally honest. And if you've realized you're trapped in your social mask and want to start integrating your inner masculine, right integration, let's see how many women are ready to stop begging and start living from the intrinsic realized self that Jung mapped and Huberman validated.